Sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, we are live now. Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Hello.
going to continue session from tomorrow. Uh, that we were um, we discussed about basics of Spark-A yesterday. So
Yes.
today we'll be continuing from there and kind of creating some filters around layering, how to put things in perspective. So yeah, this is what we're going to do today. And yeah, I can start when you're ready. My eyes, like is there a different function? Okay, so can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if it is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Um, so hello everyone. Welcome to the continuation of the hands-on and Spark-A. Yesterday we learned about the basic functionalities of Spark-A, which was um, we discussed about navigation within the tool. We discussed about what is a scene object. We discussed about where do we add the assets, what are their properties. Then we kind of imported few patches into the patch graph. We also discussed about the viewport. What does it mean to augment reality into digital space? Discussed about lights. We discussed about the camera and device, and yeah, we will be continuing from there now. So, could you let me know where are you joining from today? Um, yeah, let me know. Meanwhile, we wait for the other people. Just let me know where did you join from yesterday? Did you join yesterday, and are you continuing from there? And if you were not there, did you attend the lecture one, like the Spark-A-Thon video number one, and then you are here today? Okay. Can't really see your comments. I mean, all right, we will discuss about the animation filters today. So when you're here, we'll probably talk about them. So is everybody was there in yesterday's session? Uh, how many of them just joined today? Okay. So before we proceed to our session number two, can you let me know any questions that you have from yesterday session, so that when we go forward from here, we have our minds clear and we can focus on new things. So can you let me know what kind of questions do you have from yesterday's sessions? I see Heron's question that he wants to know what is animation filters. So I make sure that I'll cover it today. Any more questions that you have from yesterday's session will be answered today. So you can let me know before we start.
Hi. So I don't see any questions coming in the chat. I think we should begin. And I'll
All
keep
right.
moderating and sharing the questions just in case whenever they arrive, right?
All right, Anamika, let me know because actually I can't see the questions when I'm actually presenting. So yeah, let me know.
No, I get that. So I'll keep intervening in between and sharing the questions with you whenever they come across.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Right, so I hope my screen is visible. We're going to start with another new project today, and we'll be continuing from what we learned yesterday. Um, we knew that what is the viewport and all the basic functionalities of the Spark AR. Today we are going to continue from there, and let's just talk about the data types today. Okay, so whenever we import a new value, this is a patch container. Like all the patches are here. So when you right click on the patch graph, you see that there are a lot of bunch of patches. There are animation patches, there's animation player, the frame transitions that we will discuss in detail. There are audio patches, the body landmarks, facial landmarks. There are math patches, which are like addition, taking a cosine, taking a power, taking a negative of something, like taking a minimum, square root, exponential. There is a time patches which just run time. There are some utility patches like where is my camera, where's my face, where's my hand. So all those utility patches, like what option, there's an option picker to select one of the multiple options. The very basic patch is value patch, which just does hold some value. Okay, at the moment it is a number value, which is a number zero. I can have some of the options here. These options are like it could be a Boolean value. So let's discuss about these before we proceed further. Um, a value can be a number, which is a zero. It can be a Boolean. What is a Boolean? Boolean is a true or false value. It could be either true or it could be false. So this value could say that a condition can be true or false. Um, my name is something. I can have at a particular time can be greater than a position or less than a position or on a position. So the answer to this, am I actually on that position, would be either false or true. If I'm there, then it's true. If I'm not there, then it's false. So if it is checked, then it's a true value. Okay. If it is not checked, then this is a false value. We would mostly use this with a patch called if then else, which says that, okay, my first input is Boolean type. This is Boolean, and this also take the Boolean type. If I say that this condition is true, then it's going to be my else value, that would be 5. And if I say that this is false, then it's going to be like 0, like false value. So if you see the output is 0 at the moment because the condition is false, that is why it's going for else. If I say that this is true, then the condition will be taking the then value, that would be 5. All right. um, that's the first data type. Then we have the number. Second is color. This data type mostly holds the kind of color that you want to pass to a material or an input which can take colors. Okay, so at the moment this is transparent. Okay, we could add red color anywhere. We could select any color and just give this color to this value. Input would be a color, of course, and output would be a color because this is a value function. So whatever we select here is going to be input and output as well. So where can we use this? Is that we can have a rectangle, and this rectangle could be like full in width, 100% height, 100% width. That could be relative 100% width. Okay, and when I want to add a material to this guy, I would say that, okay, this material is standard, and I want to have this texture value given to from this value. So if I directly pass this is going to take this color, and I can change it um, to whatever value I want. make sure that this output cannot be passed to a value which is a number. Okay, so if I have a if then else condition now, I won't be able to do that. It's going to give me an error because this is a Boolean type. So data types are important because you need to make sure that the input type and the output type are matching with the function. So the output type of this is color and input type of this is Boolean. So this value cannot be passed here. So that is why this would be a wrong implementation. This can have um, color value. So that is why we're able to pass it here. Next we have is next we have is number. Like this number can be anything, can be zero, can be one, can be 100, but just have to be a number. You can't say like, hey, Navi here, because this is a text. It won't be able to take it. So you can't put text here. So this it has to be a number. Okay. Next thing, this number can be passed to anything else. Can be passed here, can be passed here, cannot be passed to this boolean. All right. The next thing that we have is pulse. Now, it's very important. Okay, what is a pulse? Pulse is something which generates like electricity. So when you turn it on, there would be a pulse traversing through from where you're connecting it to, and then it has a very short life. Like the pulse is alive for a while and then it's off. For an example, when somebody comes to your door and rings a bell, then what it does is it presses the button, and as soon as he presses the ring bell button, inside you start hearing that "ta-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na," and then it plays on unless the recording is finished. So I don't have to keep it pressed. I just have to say pulse, and then it will start something. So that's how it traverses. While a boolean is different. Okay, boolean is like, if it is on, then it is on. It is on forever unless you change it. But a pulse is very short lived. So these both of these values, they work very closely because they're like interconnected. Because a pulse is also starting something, a boolean is also starting something, uh, but the only difference is that pulse is short lived and a boolean is like a not it's like it's always lived. It is not a short lived value. um, how do we use it? Is that if you have a screen tap function, a screen tap is a patch which records the pulse when you screen tap on the screen. So to screen tap, what you need to do is that you click on this burger icon, and then you'll see that, hey, simulate touch. When you click on simulate touch, your mouse would become into this circle. So whenever you do screen tap, there would be like a pulse generated, like, hey, you screen tapped. So when I do screen tap, you will see that this gesture state would be blinking. You see that there's a blink. As soon as I tap, there is a blink. So if I want to do something, that whenever I do screen tap, give me just do some animation for me. So if I have an animation patch, and if I say that, hey, if i if I screen tap, then play this animation for me, because this play patch is a pulse type, and this is also a pulse type. When you click on the output button, you'll see the data type. When you click on the input button, you'll see also the data type, but no, you don't see the data type. But you can know that what is it which is getting. So for output, you can click on it and you can see the data type. For input is always like written like, okay, this is a pulse type. So whenever I would screen tap, it would create an animation. That animation should be progressed and should give me a transition. Okay, the transition could be number, and this number could be from 0 to, let's say, go 5. So what does this mean is that initially I am at 0, but this when this animation starts, for 1 second, in 1 second of time, I will transition from 0 to 5. Okay, and when that happens, let's see that in action then. So if I screen tap, initially I'm at 0, but when I screen tap, this is transferring for 5. So from 0 this transferred from 0 to 5 in 1 second. But what if I want this transition to be slower than it's appearing? Then I increase this value to, let's say, hey, go from 0 to 5, but take 5 seconds, go slower. I don't want that fastest transition that in 1 second you go from 0 to 5. Take your time, and take your time is that 5 seconds. So when I do that now, this is going to be updating slowly. My progress will be always 0 to 1, but that progress will take 5 seconds now. So this is the pulse, how pulse is traversing. The screen tap initiated a pulse, told this to play something, play an animation, which was again in our example like a doorbell, like which that doorbell played for like 5 seconds when I pressed on the doorbell button. And yeah, let's move to the next one. Next we have is a text type. This could be a text value, could be your name, could be your, could be anything, just a text, whatever text that you want to pass it to. This text will be passed to something which has an input as text type. So if I pass it to if then else, then this if then else has number type. So these guys are always accepting numbers, but I can change it to text, and that would be then, okay, because now this is a text type, and this would be outputting Navi because this condition is true. If I say this condition is false, then it is going to go from else, which has nothing, so my output would be empty. But I can have control C control V to duplicate it and say that I am a creator. And then if I say that I'm a creator, and if I go into else value, then my condition is false at the moment because it's not true, then it means false. It is going to take the else value, and my output would be I'm a creator. Let's take a 2D text here. 2D text is one of the things that you can import here. And I'm going to hide this rectangle. At the moment, I'm passing this text button, but if I go to this text properties, if you click on text, you will see all the properties there. Then this text is printing because the text value, the text attribute has text written into it. If I take out this attribute, and if I say that the output is taken from here, then what you need to do is if I do this, I'm now Navi and I'm a creator. So the condition is true, then this Navi, and if condition is false, then it is I'm a creator. All right. Okay, next, let's move to the next one, which is now vector 2. Vector 2 is a number. You can see this is type of a number, but this data type holds two type of numbers, like a number which is like comes in a pair, like a property which property has two attributes. For an example, width or height. Okay, like my screen has some amount of width, some amount of height. So for that I would have to use a 2D type of variable. So I can say that, so I can't pass a number to it. If I pass just the number to it, like if I pass 5 to it, that would mean that I'm passing a number to a vector. So since I'm passing a number, that's all right. But since I'm passing it like this would be given to both x and y. But I want to give x and y different values, then I would have to give them differently. Okay. For that, we can use a pack. There's a pack patch. This pack is vector 3 at the moment, but what we want to pass to is vector 2. So we can change it to vector 2. And you're going to say that, hey, the first value should be 10, and the second value should be 20. And then I pass it. This is going to have 10 and 20. All right. I hope that's understood. Similarly, we have vector 3. Same thing. For example, now if you're talking about a 3D object, then if you like x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, or like a cube has length, width, and also height. So it's like a three vector input. So we will also give it like a three vector input. And when we do that, this is, since it is 0, we can also give it like -10. So now this has like 10, 20, and -10, right? They're mostly useful in the position values. Like if I have a plane here, if I take a plane, and this plane would have position like a three vector position. So if I take out this position and not the position, let's take the scale. That is also the similar thing, right? That also has a three vector presentation. And if I do this to this guy, then it's going to be scaled because it is scaled to like 10 points in X direction, 10 points in Y direction, 20 point in Y direction, and like that. We can change these values to like 2 and change to like 1. Z direction wouldn't matter because this is at the moment is just a 2D scaling. But if you do that for position, then it would matter. So if I do that for position, then -10 would matter for me. This would take this to, I have, yeah, this would take this to negatively -10. So if you want to see it, that is actually lying in the space somewhere in the depth. But I can call it forward. I will say like, hey, come back, don't go so far. It will come back, go in X direction, and go in Y direction, and come back. So it will come back to the screen, right? You see that this is 1 point in the Z direction, and also 0 and Y. And if I can just like 0.1, that would be like a little bit behind the screen. And I also can do like positive 0.1 would be ahead of the screen, right? Then also we have vector 4, which is nothing but a 4-digit number. And this is mostly associated with the color values. Color values are, as we discussed yesterday, they can be RGBA. Okay, this is like red channel, green channel, blue channel, and this is alpha channel. Um, so mostly that would be associated with that. So I can have my material and bring it over, and this texture is coming here, right? And we discussed yesterday that every texture is a 4 vector thing, which is X, Y, Z, and W, which is R, G, B, and A. It is similar, right? We can also write it R, G, B, A, also X, Y, Z, W. So one of the same thing. Um, if I pass it directly to this material, first of all, I have to enable this. So right now it is white by default. If I do this, since my alpha is 0, alpha is a presentation of how much opaque something is. So right now it's like fully opaque. If I increase this, I will be increasing the opacity. And if I make it 1, that would be representing 100% of these colors. At the moment, 0, 0, 0 is a coordinate for black color. So if I put 1 and 1 and 1, then it's going to be white. If I just put 1, 0, and 0, that means I'm putting red channel to the max, not putting the green channel, not putting the blue channel. That means it should be like super red. All right. If I do that for 0 and 1, it should be super green. If I do that for like 0 and 1, then it should be blue. All right. We can have some combinations like, hey, take red a little bit, take green a little bit, and take blue a little bit. Then it will be like a different color that we are coming here with it. So what if I bring out a loop animation? That loop animation should give me a transition. Okay, this transition could be a 3 vector number, and I want a 3 vector number because I don't want to change my opacity. Okay, my opacity should be 1 so that I can see, but I can actually change my opacity to kind of see what's behind. So if I put it to like 0.5, I can also see myself because my opacity is not fully 1. So it's like little bit of my background and most of my like 70% of the color, but 30% of the background. This is 30% of the color, but 70% of my background. So I would put it like zero point 0.7 again. Now, if I run on the loop animation progress, and this progress should go for like, I pack it to, it would be packed to like, you can do this two ways. I can pack it to like a two vector as well. How? Because the first thing can be like a three vector and the last thing can be a fourth vector. If I do that, that would be representing like this. Okay, but I don't want to confuse you. So what we should do is that we should unpack it first, right? And then pack it again. So you stay here, you stay here. This value should go for like zero point 0.2 to, this should be start from 0.3, this should be start from 0.1, should go for zero point 0.5, this should go for zero point 0.5 again, maybe zero point 0.7, this should go for zero point 0.9. So what I want to do is that there should be an animation which runs for 5 seconds and it will keep going. The if I just use the animation patch, that means the animation plays when the pulse is received, but this animation plays when it is enabled. So we learned about something which is always enabled and something with just a short-lived pulse. So this is only short-lived pulse, which means one time, only one time animation. But this is on loop. As soon as the progress from goes from 0 to 1, it starts from 0 again and goes to 1. If I mirror it, 0 to 1, 1 to 0, 0 to 1, 1 to 0, it keeps going unless this is turned off. As soon as I turn it off, this 0.0902. So we keep that in mind. There are certain type of curves that you can follow. Like the value is right now linearly increasing from whatever value that we have to start from end. But we could go in like a sinusoidal form, like hey, increase faster than slower, then faster than slower, then faster than slower. So there are like a couple of type of animation types that you can choose from, depending on what kind of animation do you want. Let's choose the sinusoidal in and out. So like it's a little bit smoother. Okay, these values are changing. What I want to do is that I want to pass it to a four vector. So to that, right now I have a three vector thing. I want to convert it to a four vector thing. What I should do is I should use a pack, which is a four vector pack. Okay, and I would pack it to x, y to y, z to z, and this is, I want to keep it to 0.7, so because that's what it is here. And if I pass it here now, it will be like, if you see, it's keep changing. If I change this to completely one, then you see that the color is smoothly changing to, a different color based on these values. If I make it quicker, like do this in 1 second, then it's going to be like just 1 second keeps changing. I can make it a little shorter also, like 0.1 seconds. It's like very, very fast. And maybe zero point 0.5 would be a good number. Yeah. I can change these numbers to get, if I want more of, less of the red color, but more of the green color and more of less of the blue color. Then the most of the colors that we are receiving is because of the green color, because that has the like maximum inputs from here. This was all about data types. I hope these are a little bit clear now, because we're going to use them now. There's one more thing I want to talk about is when we import assets, there's a folder structure that comes in handy. And all right. I have I've kind of imported, prepared some textures from a creators workshop, and I would like to import them. All right, so this is how we import textures. I went to this add asset icon and I said like I want to import from my computer, and I want to import some assets, some images which are mostly PNG images, and I click on open. They will be imported to my project. Since they're like 5 6 images stuck a little bit. It's a good practice that whenever you import some things, you always set the compression to none because it eats up lots of memory, lots of resources from your computer. Um, once we have the resources here, all right. Once we have the resources here, what we want to do is that you want to make sure this is just for reference, like what the project structure, folder structure is there. So I want to save this project first, and I want to save this to playground two. That is for today in here. So I know that where are you saved, and as soon as I save it, it creates a folder structure. Look at the folder structure that it has created. This is the file that we are working with, like playground is the project file, and it has created a texture folder. So all the texture that we have imported would always be here. If we import any sound, then the sound folder would appear here. So let's do that as well. So if I go to my library, to my music and sounds, and if I say that import this guy, then the sound will be imported here and it will be creating a sound folder automatically, and then the sound would be always here. Similarly, there would be different folder for all the kind of assets that we add here except the materials. Okay. All right. Let's create something. Let's apply some textures, make some rectangles, and make some animations as well. um, First thing that we want to do is enable this rectangle, and this canvas has a rectangle is a 2D type object which represents something on a screen initial. So let's delete them and do them from the start. Create Add a rectangle to a canvas. You have to add a canvas works like a null object for a rectangle, and when you create a rectangle, by default it is 100 width and 100 height. But when you make it to like, hey, do this to my complete screen, then that means 100% of the width and 100% of the height. That would cover the entire screen. Then I do that, I should add a material to it. That material, I'm gonna call it like a background. I will call it background. And background is having a material, and this is which is flat. I'm also going to call it matte background. And I'm going to pass this one of the textures, which is img background. If I pass this texture here to the material, then this should be visible, right? So what I did is that I imported a texture and I said like that should be my background. So my texture is applied to this material. Another way to do it, either you can apply it directly here, or you can import this guy here and import the texture that you want to apply. That I want to apply this texture, to import it here, and just connect the RGB A value to this guy. That would be also giving you the same output. So these are the same things. Then I want to do is that let me add some things to it. Let me add one more rectangle, which should represent one of the shapes that I have here, and maybe maybe add this guy at the top of this. So if I add another rectangle and say call it decoration, okay, and this decoration should be um, let's keep it to 100% right at the moment, and then we'll see how is it actually visible on the screen. This material is my matte decoration, which is flat because I don't care about the light at the moment. These are all 2D stuff. And I want to give it to, what was the name of the decoration? MG banner. Okay. So you see that the texture was like this. It was um, supposed to be an image which it does not look like this. It should be like a super okay image. Maybe we wanted it like there, okay. But when we imported this into 100% rectangle, it stretched and compacted from the sides, and it was stretched like this. So what do we do is that maybe we can adjust the size of this guy and adjust it like this. That is one way to do it, because we know that way we want it, and once we know that way we want it, we can always adjust the size, and that's how it would look. Another way to do it, another and smart way to do it would be, and then once we know that it is at the top, we can pin it, like just pin it at the top, so that whatever phone you change, so let's say if I want to have iPad, this should always be at the top. But again, as soon as I choose the iPad, it is being stretched again. So what is the way to kind of handle it? So, because this is not the correct way. So I will push it to 100% again. Um, and I will bring out the devices dimension, because I want to know like what device am I using. And this is pretty important concept, to make sure your filter works on every other devices. You bring out the devices object, like just drag device here. Once you do, you will know that there's a screen size, there's an object, and there's a screen scale. So you bring out the screen scale, and you divide it by the screen scale, which means that you're kind of getting the actual size of the width and the height, because you're dividing the scale. That means the pixel is not dense anymore, it represents only just one single pixel. If I don't do that, then it will be like 750 1334. But it also have a like per ppi, per pixel intensity of each pixel, like how many values it is holding, and that's how the resolution works. Like some of the phones will have like screen scale 3, or some of would have just like one. Like most of the phones, for example, the Ray-Ban, they have screen scale to 1 because they are like a square. So for most of the iPhones, this is for 1. Okay, this is for 2 most of the phones. And we divide it to get the actual width and actual height. When we divide it, we get like 375 and 667. So this is our actual height. Now we want to do is unpack this guy too. And after unpacking, we want to divide the x by y. So if I do that, I will be having a ratio, like how much is my ratio to my width to my height. So this is width by height ratio. If I divide it by this should be less than 1, of course. Then I pack it now. So I have this ratio. I'll take out this value, and this is 0.56. I will take out this value and I'll call it aspect ratio. As you must have seen, like in a lot of tools and like a lot of places. So what I've done, this green patch is a very important, sorry, this blue patch is a very important patch. It's a kind of a sender. So the sender can be like, if I send something from here, I can receive it in other part of the patch graph. If I say like, if I want to access it here, then I don't have to like go here every time and like take the line from like this and then connect it. I can just go here and like ask for my receiver, because that was the sender. So we can have a receiver, and you will see that, oh, there's one receiver which is aspect ratio, so I can have this value here. All right. So this is what it does. Then there is important patch that I'm going to introduce is 2D transform pack, which is to kind of translate, scale, and rotate your 2D textures. And then we have a texture sampler. This is to texture transform. Since we are what we're doing is we're transforming this texture to something else. So we need to import our texture first. That is this img banner. All right. Now this banner is coming to this guy, and my transformation is coming to this guy. At the moment, we're taking the default transformations, and that we are applying to this decoration. So we need to have this texture, and then so we have done nothing. Nothing changes at the moment because we have not changed anything yet. Now we want to do is that since the scale is disturbed because the scale is not in the correct manner as we want because it's being stretched, so we want to change the scale. So if you make changes here, you will see that the scale is like either stretching or doing things. But we should know that how should we change it to. And similarly here also it is being changing, and then like so this is probably something that I'll be wanting, but I don't want these lines, So we have to change it in a manner that works best for us. And how do we do that? We use our aspect ratio. So we create a receiver and say like my aspect ratio, and I want to pack this guy pack in a way that it should give me my x and y in a manner that the image should look like this, not like this. That means my x here is lesser than y, which means my x is 1, then my y should be 0.5, right? Because it is stressed in y, so we need to reduce in y. And then I'm gonna do it like this. So then it is being, coming a little bit somewhere as we want it. I want to multiply this with a number so that I can adjust my scale now and then give it here. So if I multiply it by 2, it's going to be bigger. If I multiply it, it's going to be smaller. And there's one more thing we can try because this is a square image. We can also try y by x. And if you try y by x for 1, then we need to go a little smaller. So we were okay as x by y. So aspect ratio can be y by x and x by y as well, depending if your width is smaller than your height. Right. I think there should be a correct representation of it. This is how it should look. But we can adjust where should we place it. Like should we place it in X direction? So we want to place it a little bit above. So let's say we want to place it like here. I'm still not very much satisfied with the way it is coming out. So maybe we use it. All right, I think this should be okay. Yeah. Again, we can always change it. This is the one way to do it. I mean, this is the ideal way to do it so that it fits all the devices. So if you go to like a iPhone X, because that's a little lengthier than everything else, or if you go to iPad, like there because it's super lengthier. So this is the correct way to do it. For and this works for most of the kind of textures. If you go for iPad, it's a little bit stretchy still. So So probably because okay. Um, the if you go with fixed sizes, then this is just going to be working only for this device. If I change it to a different like iPhone X, it's going to leave some space from the top and from the left as well. So let's use a different texture now. Let's import one of the things that here. Let's import this circle. It's called the mandala. I think let's import this mandala here. Again, we are going to use full width and full rectangle, and we're gonna say matte mandala. We have to make sure that all our textures are 1024 cross 1024 because that's important for us. And that is the maximum we can go for any kind of texture in Spark. And if I use what was it called? It's like pinwheel 2. So we're done with the decoration. This is also not in very much like super shape. And if I wanna do this, what I should do is that I would kind of, since I'm kind of repeating this again and again, I can create it in a group. Okay, I can create a patch, or maybe not. I can just like duplicate this guy, Control C, Control V, and I will say that, hey, whatever you were doing here, do this for my this texture now. And that was the this one. Do for this texture, and that should be here. So if you see that it is a little bit stretched in Y, right? So if I do this now, yeah, this ratio we have to select. So if I do this now, you see that, so you see the difference. Earlier it was stretched a bit, but now it is like a perfectly rounded shape. Okay, it's not stretched anymore, and this is what also we were trying to achieve with the image banner. And when we import it, we can now scale it down, scale it up, like maybe a little bit smaller or bigger like this. We can make things like that. Okay. Again, we want to again like one more mandala, so we can call it mandala number 1. Then we can call it mandala number duplicated, and like mandala number 2. This should have another material. We can duplicate it as well. Call this mandala number 1, and this call mandala number 2. The only difference that we have is that it should have a different texture. Now see, we are kind of repeating this again and again. Okay, so this is to optimize your project. What you want to do is that you can group it, this, and this is giving you an output. And this is the input that we want, and this is also the input we want. We can group it because we're using it again and again. And we can call it texture adjustment. Okay, is that's what we're doing. And we're kind of creating a patch. We're kind of creating a better process for our projects to do. So while we build, when we do things like again and again, we should like convert into a patch and then use it to optimize the project. And if you see that this is input 1, we can change its properties. This is all we discussed yesterday, so I hope you're familiar with it. Number 1 is the aspect ratio, right? This type should be a number. By default should be value of 1 maybe. This is a texture, and the type is a texture. Cool. And the output is adjusted texture. All right. And we forgot to change the type of this is a texture. All right. So this formula has inside, if you go, it is nothing but whatever patches that we had, we were just giving it some directions. Now let's say this is 0.5. What if I want to like change it for different textures? So I can have a create input, and when I do that, this would be this one more input now that I can change the size to, like let's say zero point 0, zero point 0.5. It's gonna be like changing when I change it. All right. So now for mandala 2, if I want to do that, first of all, my mandala 2 is this guy. If I directly apply mandala 2, where are you? Yeah, this is how it should be. This is how it not should not be, but this is how it's appearing. So what I should do is that in the middle, I should add something that we created and give it this guy, this texture, give it the ratio here, and apply it like this. It just did, right? It's super adjusted now. And we can change things like, you know, increase it, decrease it, you know, we can go ahead from here. So yeah, maybe we can decrease it. So it is like kind of now part of our previous mandala. It is because it's smaller and that is bigger, so we can see it. But if we change the hierarchy, then that's going to be on the top, and this is going to be the bottom. I think the that looks better. And then when we can increase the size of it, so it is like yeah. And what if I want to rotate it? I want to rotate the middle part. And if I want to rotate the middle part, there are some ways to do it. We have a rotation here, right? We can apply this rotation. So to apply this rotation, I can also take this out, okay? And I can say that, hey, rotation, give me a value. I can have this separately. Okay, so we have like a different connections now. This rotation value should be like, I can have a loop animation, and this loop animation should give me a rotation from transition. Pay attention to the patches that I'm adding. They're not new. They're all the patches that we have discussed, and we're only discussing some patches which are very much important for any project that you do, and because these will be like common patches that you will use, and it's better that you get familiar with them. Um, I want to rotate from 0 to maybe 360 to do a complete round, and that would be like a 360-degree. And when I connect it here, it is revolving a little faster, maybe 10 seconds. So it's revolving like that. What are you going to do the same thing to this guy? There are two ways to do it. First is that I delete it again and I copy it again and then paste it here. Or I can kind of create it as a patch asset that we yesterday did, so that we can, whatever changes we make to this guy always will be applied to all the patches. That means if I copy and paste it and I connect those things again, and this should be a little bit bigger. And the rotation value should be like, if it is going in that direction, I want this to rotate in opposite direction. So what I can do is that I can multiply this by -1 and then apply it to my rotation, which means if that is rotating in that direction, then my this mandala is rotating in the other direction. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much clear. Like we have a kind of a mandala filter ready already, and then we can add some more things to it, like Taco Bell cactus. Let's see what we're gonna do with it. Okay. Let's see what we want to do now is that we want to kind of decrease the sizes. These are too big. Maybe maybe decrease it to point 2 and this 2.4. Okay, and which is right in the center. I what I want to do is I want to add few more of this setup. So my this setup is a part of two rectangles. But what if like I wanna change it to like just one rectangle? Because at the moment what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting them two rectangles together, caring about the hierarchy. So what if I do not want my mandala to? I delete my mandala too. Um, okay, I'm just deleting it. I don't want it anymore. I just want my mandala too. But I want both of my mandalas to be held by this one rectangle. Well, what I should do is that so I have both of these texture and I should use them to like I should kind of mix them somehow and then feed it to this guy. But how do I mix it? There's something called blend patch. Okay, it's very important and very useful patch. Um, you can add it to this guy and this should be given to this. Now you see that both of them are visible again, and just we are using just one rectangle. If you change the source and destination, then you will see that there's one thing is on the top of the another. So that is why we just want to do carefully, like our source should be on the top and our destination should be on the background. You can apply some sort of these functions like, hey, add them. So if you add them, then the first would be the first would be kind of adding to the second one. So first is being a little bit transparent. um, let me create a function to kind of adjust them just by one value. So if I have a value which is, let's say, zero point 0.2, and if I multiply it by 2, so what I want to do is that my value is my scale to this guy and multiplying by it is scale to this guy. Okay. So if I change this one number, both of them scale together, right? Because if I have zero point 0.5, then zero point 0.5 for this one and zero point 0.1 for this. Okay. Now we've created this ad. You want to try more, subtract. You can just want to subtract the colors. There's a difference. There's multiply. There's dodge. There's minimum. There's overlay. These are just graphical concepts. Usually, normal works best, and we always want to rearrange a project into a way that looks good and also arrangeable. So what you should do is that maybe arrange it better somehow. Always try to, like whenever you, let's say if I patch this here, then I make sure that my next patch is in line with this so that it looks better. So if I'm doing this to also, I'll do this, so I'll always have a like a better design to kind of put things in perspective. Since this is like crossing some paths, we can always create a sender to this, like maybe a sender to this value, right? And this is my scale. Okay. And this scale is going to be a receiver. To You can always right click on this and create a receiver, or you can right click here on call the receiver patch and apply whatever the center you created. And I'm gonna give it to here. Okay, and this scale to here. Then this I don't need. Maybe I can apply it here. Multiply by 2. Okay, and for this one, this is my sender again, which is a rotation. Why we are doing this is because when we work on a bigger projects, it is always important that we manage our things, because every time you want to make some changes, because we're designing on the go, we want to make sure that everything is easier to change and you get the most out of it. So if there's a design change, and if so you don't waste a lot of time in just finding where's that, and it's easier for you to like make reality of your imagination. So I can kind of like make this is my like a control center where every values are there. So like my first value was here, so this is also like a part of my control center, because my aspect ratio I'm using again and again. So this is like my control center where I'm creating all the centers, all the values. All right. So this is my rotation, and I'm going to take this rotation again and multiply it by -1. And this I can go to my control center. I can comment things. As I was grouping, I can also comment things, and I say that, hey, this is my control center. I'm gonna put all the values which are like a sender or receiver here, so I can like have some space and can increase it or decrease it whenever I want. Now you see that it is a little bit managed. We see that what's happening here is that we are adjusting our texture for our image one, and this image and this image, sorry. And we are having a scale which is coming from our control center and rotation values, and then we're providing them to my material number one. Now we're just using one mandala, so we can call it just mandala, not mandala one, and as well as for this, and we can delete this. Okay. Um, next thing I want is that I want some things falling from the sky. Okay. Um, or maybe we want some sort of animation. Um, let's do the falling thing first, and then we do the animation. Or let's do the animation first. Okay. So sorry. So to add an animation, what we do is we can't import the videos into Spark. It's forbidden. Mike is augmented reality thinks that if you want to import videos into Spark, then that's not augmented reality anymore, because videos are like projected on a 2D plane. They're not 3D, and then there's no sense in that. So Spark says that you can have a GIF imported into Spark. So, but that also you can't do directly. You have to convert into like multiple frames, and to do that, what we can do is that we can go to EZZIF. So if you have a video, you can convert that video to GIF first. If you have directly the GIF, you can convert to different frames. So we want to do is we want to split it to, yeah, we want to split it to different frames. So what we have to upload is we have to upload a GIF here. So I have already downloaded a GIF for you. This GIF is that we are going to import. So you see that this is kind of an animation that we want to go with. So when I import this GIF, this would be uploaded, or you can download any GIF from online, and this is the GIF that we have. Um, what we want to do is we want to output in JPG format. If you have like a transparent image, then PNG format is the best. And so split two frames, super simple. So what he's gonna do is gonna split it to like multiple frames, and then you can see that what it has done is that it has taken a picture of every frame differently, and then we're gonna play these pictures like frame by frame, so it looks like an animation, it looks like a video. There are lots of these. So if you see that they have kind of given us a lot of images. We also want to optimize that because we don't have like the entire space to like deal with these guys. So we want to optimize it. So you can optimize it here. And when we say optimize, we want to say that maybe optimize the transparency. Maybe no, maybe remove every second frame, which means um, it's gonna be just like divided by two. So if I do that, this is going to be optimized a lot better. So you see that the size has been reduced almost by 50%, and this is a little bit faster because we have removed every second frame. Then again, if you want to optimize it better, you can also resize it now, maybe because this is a pretty big, this is 800 by 600. In the same ratio, we can go over like um, maybe 400 by 300. All right, so we have done for like 50% of what it was initially, and then we resize it. So now the image has been like a little bit smaller, so, and also reduce in size. So lesser, the better. And we have like 61 frames. Also, if we can like reduce it a little more, that would be like super good. So let's optimize it again and have the compression level a little more and optimize it. Now you see that we have come to like a 130 kb of the size, and now we want to go to the frames. Okay, just click on the frames. When you click on the frames, you see that this has been like created into multiple frames, and we can now just download it. Yes, yeah. So instead of going to the frame, you can go to the split, and the split will give you these images, which is like 61 images, and then we want to download them as a zip. So all the files will be downloaded to your desktop. These are the files that we have here, and now what we want to do is we want to go back to a Spark, and we want to say that this is my texture animation. I can import using this. If I do that, it gives you a little bit of um, like you can do some transparency and you can do some like frame reduction, those kind of things. I don't usually use it like so much. I directly go from um, like add like a animation sequence. That's what I do. When I do animation sequence, this is here. So we're gonna call it like a sequence underscore fireworks. This is an explanation of the question that we received at the start of the session, that how to add animation. So I hope you're paying attention. So we are adding textures, and those textures are, these are the textures. Always remember to rename your textures from like 00 or 01 or 02. If you do that like 0, 1, 2, 3, it is going to be confused from 11 and 1, like which should go first. So always go from like 000 or 00 at least. And I'm gonna select every all these 60 images, open. Now you see that those images are being added here. One of 1 to 61 images, they have been added. Spark is processing a little bit because 61 images is no joke. They're being added to the Spark, and soon we'll be able to access them. Hmm. All right. As soon as they are here, we stop the compression because that's going to eat up our memory. But later on, you can do this. Um, Let me just like hide everything, like hide these things so that we can have another background which says rectangle, and which is my fireworks. Which is 100%, 100%, giving it material called matte fireworks. My texture is my sequence fireworks, which is the animation sequence that I imported. If I, as soon as I click it, that would be applied. And if you see that the entire animation is being imported into Spark and it is being run, how to control the speed and everything is that you can go to the sequence, hair animation sequence, and you see that this is 25 frames per second. You can reduce it to 5 frames per second to for like a smoother transition. You can go up to 10 frames per second to a little more. I can go like 15 as well. It's good. Now we have our image here. Also, if we add it to this guy, add, then it's gonna remove the black color. Like it's gonna make it transparent because we removed the black from the images, all the blacks. So, but by default, what you should always try to import a transparent GIF. What we have done is like this is with the black background. So now we can bring our background back in. Yeah, and we can also bring our mandala in, and you see that this is in front of the firework is in front of our mandalas. Okay, so understand the layering. Okay, whatever we add in our scenes is layered from bottom to the top. So that means my microphones is given the priority, then my plane is given the priority, which is invisible right now. If I make it visible, it will be on the top. Okay, everything is behind. Then my fireworks are coming, then my mandala is coming, and then my background. If I put my fireworks behind the background, I won't be able to see them because my background is covering them. If I put them my background in middle of the mandalas, then I'll be see that okay, this is behind my this decoration. Okay, so this is important how you layer them. Instead, the layering works differently. Layering works from top to bottom. Okay. Scene works from bottom to top, and layering works from top to bottom. So if I use layering here, like my background is my layer 0, and my fireworks becomes my create a new layer to layer 1 and call it like layer 1 is my fireworks. This is my background, and my mandalas are my like a new layer which I can call the mandalas. So you see that mandala is at the top, then fireworks, and then background. This is from top to bottom. And this is also dominant over whatever is in the scene. So if I change it from here, like mandala fireworks at the top, then fireworks at the top, nothing's gonna matter if I change it like here. It's not gonna matter because this is given priority over hierarchy that you have here. So layers has like the highest priority. So what I want to do is I want to have my mandalas at the top and then my fireworks and then my background. So I hope this is clear. Animation is good. Then I want to do is I want to make some things pop up from the top or from the bottom, like this. So we have images for that. We can have a particle system. This particle system is right now generating from the middle. What I want is I want it to coming from the bottom. From the bottom, they just like come and then go to a distance and then come down. This is what I want. So let's bring them first of all start from here. Okay, let's make them start from here. So what you can do is you can kind of first of all, my mandalas, what I want to pop up is these guys, these, these red chilies and also these uh, lemons. First, I'm going to start with the hot peppers, the chilies. So this is going to be my particle for hot chilies. Okay. I also want to have a new layer for them, and this layer is going to be chilies. It is at the top. Okay. See, this is just to explain you. Even if you don't use them, this hierarchy works. But if you use them, it is managed, super managed. Uh, I'm gonna grab my hot chilies, give them a little bit like start from here at the moment, and then we can also push it later. But at the moment, like start from here, I can zoom in and have a better look because I've left a little bit of space that I can optimize and like make it a little bit just like here, or also can put it like a little bottom. But for now, I want to see like my origin is what it's doing. Then this is also coming from a point at the moment. What I want to do is that you go to particle properties here. Since we have selected the type of emitter as a point, this is coming from a point. If I create it as a line, they would be like coming from a line like this. So what if I want to increase the length of this line more, maybe zero point 0.2? So they're like coming from everywhere, right? But also not coming from here and here. So maybe 0.25 is what I want. Maybe zero point 0.3 is what I want. Okay, so like I can see that some of the particles are going outside. That means it is covering the entire screen. So zero point 0.3 is something that I want. Okay. Um, then this does not have the chilies texture. So what I want to do is that apply a material to this. So this is just a scene object like everything else, like a canvas or like a rectangle or like a plane. Chilies is also a scene object, which is type of an emitter. They can also have material properties. So I'm gonna create a new material and say this material like matte chilies and have a standard material and apply the texture as my hot peppers. And if you see these hot peppers are coming from the bottom, which are literally super small at the moment, we're gonna scale it down to like zero point 0.1. And if you see that they're like coming from the like they're coming super nice, right? I actually don't like the animation at the moment, so it's better like we disable it. That was just for explanation. Um, these are coming but like appearing so fast, these particles. So what if, because the lifespan is too less, so maybe we can increase the lifespan. So they can come and like go. um it's okay, come and go, but I don't want them to come over my mandalas. My mandalas are like super important for me, so I can have my mandalas at the top so that they will be coming, but they will be going behind the mandalas. All right. Coming back to the hot chilies, what else can we change about them? Their birth rate is 20 at the moment. Maybe make it 5. They're like not too much all at once. Um, when they are coming, I see that they're not so changing. They're just like coming like a good boy, like a good girl. They're not like rotating or nothing. So maybe give them a little bit of spin, like maybe 30. Now you see that they're spinning, but everything is spinning at the same rate. So maybe give a random, like a dynamicity of 30%. So some of them would be spinning with 30-degree and the rest of them would not be spinning at all. Give it a tilt of like 45-degree maybe. you know so they are like now a little bit randomized, like they're going from here and there. Also, you want that, I don't want them to go away. Maybe come down like, after a second. So I want to add a little bit of gravity to the scene. Right now it's gravity is minus, so that means things are flowing, things are in the space at the moment. So probably if I add it to like zero point 0.1, um, it's gonna go up. If I make it to 0, that means there's no gravity. If I point 1, that means I'm increasing the gravity. If I make it to zero point 0.4, that means the my chilies think there's a black hole upstairs, so they're going so fast. So maybe I should do the negatively. All right. So I should do zero point 0.1. If I do zero point 0.1, the chilies are going up literally very slow. That means my lifespan, if I increase it to 2 seconds, they might just come back after going up. So if I, yeah, they're going up, but they're coming down. They're going up, but they're coming down. And if you see the randomicity, that some of them are just like going from here, and some of them are going little up, and then they're coming down. So now I see that there are too many of them. I think my birth rate is what the control is. So I just go with like two birth rate, um, which which kind of takes me to a space where some chilies are coming, but they're not too much, right? My speed is a little bit too much at the moment. Maybe point 0.1 is a good speed. Hmm. Maybe 0.15. This is something that you can experiment with a lot. Make some, some good filters with it. Now, if I duplicate this particle system, and I say that my lemons would be representing this, and I duplicate my matte chilies to duplicate my lemons, I should apply the lemons here as a material, like matte lemons, and also change the texture to this guy. The texture should be my limes. So if you see that my limes are coming, but they're not visible because of my background is have like a similar color. So maybe it is not the perfect use case to use it here. Um, hmm, Maybe I can change the color a little bit, but lemons are usually that color. But again, this is your own hero of the story. If you think that lemons are orange, then they're orange. If you think that they are blue, then they are blue. So this is augmented reality. This is your world. You can create the way you want. um, Probably not this color. Yeah. So just to differentiate lemons, I've put them into a different color. Okay, so this was about mostly about particle systems and how to layer things, and then let's do something which is a little bit of practical in plane tracker. So whatever we did was inside this canvas, that is like my background and everything. So if I hide this, these chilies are still there because they're not part of the canvas. Um, I can now disable these as well. This is my base project, and hello there. Okay, so let's create a just to recap. What we did here was scene object. This is our operations. This is our mitochondria. This is my control center, and this is my just a background texture that we did. So what you can do is you can better for arrangement. You can comment around for like this is my background, and this is red, and like whatever color you want to give it. And this is my whatever main patches that you can like call it like main patches. And like if I had to submit this filter to Instagram, and before doing that, I will like probably arrange it in a manner that everything is, so now you can like move it together. So I this is my control center which can lie there, and this is my everything else. So and this is my entire project, right? Super arranged, super well mannered, well behaved, like a gentleman. Okay. Create a plane tracker now. The plane tracker would be something which will change your direction from front camera to back camera. Like initially we were here, but now my plane tracker is in the background, like you see. So this is my plane that we're talking about. Let's add something. Let's add a 3D object, which could be a diamond or a heart or whatever star, maybe a spark S, whatever. I really wish this could be like an interactive session so that you can choose what you want to import. But since it's my choice, I'm gonna go with the diamond. That's the only place feels real to me. I can import diamonds. And if I import the diamond here, if you see that I put it on a plane tracker, and this plane tracker is not a part of my device because it is not into my device. It is something which is away from my device. My camera is into my device, wherever I put my elements are into my device. So this is why this is in parallel with my device. Okay, so whatever I put here is goes into the plane tracker. My device scope is this, and the plane tracker is a little bit far from here. That means whenever I hold my phone and I see things, the plane tracker would be at a certain distance. Okay. um, what I did here is that there's a plane tracker, and this plane tracker could be a little bit bigger than this. Um, 3D objects, there's this simple thing that you can do. That simple thing is to add a shadow, right? Like if you click on your diamond, and if you go here, this little thing, this is called an action center. And when you click on it, there are a couple of options that it will give you, like, hey, put it on your face. So if you just directly click on it, it will generate all the patches and directly like put it on your face. It's like a shortcut, like when you're in a hurry and you want to test something, it's like a shortcut for you. Place in a world space that we already did. Add a simple shadow, animate it, like, spin it or float it, blink it, pulse it, like we could do that. So let's add a simple shadow to it, which means that wherever it is in the air, that it should be there should be a shadow that would look it like a little bit realistic. Everything has a shadow, right? So if I add on it, if I click on it, there should be a shadow added to this guy. And we should be able to see it. If we go a little bit up, you know if you go a little bit up, you see that there's a shadow here. If I don't have it, this okay. Since we already imported it, this is the shadow that we have. This everything is going into the mandala thing, so we can have a new layer because we are not working into mandala again. So we're working in a plane tracker. So just put any name. So plane tracker layer. Uh, so this is my plane tracker layer, and yeah. um, just to see that this is added a shadow here. If I want to add some animation to this guy and say that, like, hey, give me an animation which is like a, I think, s- like floating, so you see that this thing is floating. So whenever I put this into space, this comes like it's floating. um, when we clicked on floating, this is the automatic code that it generated and added to our patch graph that we could have done ourselves. But since we in a hurry and wanted to test things, we're just using that function as well. But if you want to do this by ourselves, let's do that. um, this is the bounding box, which means that this is responsible for that shadow. Bounding box is available here. Bounding box. So bounding box has like, it is a, what is a bounding box? Bounding box is an invisible box which is created around your object. So if diamond is there, the diamond's bounding box would be this, and this will give you 8 things, like left, four corners in the right, four corners to the left, because it's kind of like a square thing. So like all those 8 elements would be kind of defining your rectangle around your shape. When we take the first and the second, first, top, and the last, this is kind of creating a 2D shadow at the bottom. And how is it working? It's because there's a block added to it, which is passing the shadow to this guy. You don't have to go inside it; just simply add it. This because if you use it, this is super simple and not so calculation expensive. So it's always recommended to add it when you're working with 3D objects. Okay, let's add some animation to this guy. This is my diamond, and my diamond has some certain position that I have. It has a certain scale. What I want to do is that I want to like float it. So If I want to float it, I want to change its position in the y direction. Right now it is at 0. 0.3 in y direction. Let's make it exactly zero point 0.3 so that, and import this position. And I want to take this position and go from zero point 0.3 to a little bit up, a little bit down. So if I am at zero point 0.3 at the moment, I think zero point 0.2 and zero point 0.4 should give me that. Like this is the kind of thing I want. So I tested this. Now I want to implement this. That means I want to have a transition, which is a three vector transition because I want a three vector value. I don't want to change my x. So 0 to 0. I want to go from 0. 0.2 to 0. 0.4. Instead, I don't want to change as well. So this should be my transition. Now I need to add a function, animation that keeps it doing it, like keeps it floating. That means I want to have an animation which keeps running. That means looping. So loop animation and connect the progress. And you see that it is going from 0. 0.2 to 4 and then coming back to 0.2. So I want to mirror it, like come back and like that. Right now it's linearly going, so it doesn't look like it's floating, but it looks like it's coming up and down. So I can change it to a couple of other options for a smoother transition. Maybe quantic in and out, like okay. So maybe quadratic in and out is good option. So this was one of the animation that we created. Uh, Now let's talk about the null objects. Okay, if I add a null object to this guy, null object is nothing. Is just an empty object which is right now at the origin of the plane tracker. Okay, and why we use it is because if you want to change directions, if you want to change particular number of objects, position them all together, we can just, so instead of accessing every element, we can just access the null object and move it around. So I'm going to put my diamond into my null object, okay, which changes nothing. My null object is still there, and it is there at the moment. And I'm going to duplicate my diamond and duplicate my diamond again and duplicate my diamond again. So I have 4 diamonds now. All of them have same position as this guy, but the animation is only applied to this because the position is only coming here. Rest of them is position is 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. What I want to do is give them different positions. Okay. So my diamond number 0 is a little bit, check it here, check the positions. Okay. A little bit X direction here. Okay. My diamond number 2 is little bit in X direction here. And my diamond number 2 is little bit in my Y direction here. Okay. This is the setup that I have at the moment, or maybe a little bit at the top. Then I want to decrease the size a little bit. Like this is should be not too big, not too big. This is also maybe a little lesser than everybody else, like this. But the top one should be biggest all over, like this. Okay. So if I look at my scene at the moment, what's happening here is that everything is in this direction. They're in the same plane. Okay. Um, in if I look at from here, they're not aligned. They're aligned in the z direction. That they're not changing the z direction. They're they have different x positions. Diamond numbers this and this has same x position like 0, and this is also at 0. This and this has different x position, but every one of them has almost same y except this is like zero point 0.5. All right, we understand this better. Now what we want to do is everything is a part of my null object. So if I move my null object, I move everything. I move everything. Um, let's create a shadow for everything. So this is how to create the shadow is to go here and add a simple shadow, go here, add a simple shadow, go here and add a simple shadow. So you see that everybody has a shadow to just to make it a little bit more realistic. Um, then we kind of, this is just one. If we move the null object entirely, then that means we are moving everything, but we're also moving the shadows, which we don't want. So shadows should be outside. Yep, one shadow is still inside. Then we see that this is how it is, but it doesn't look that realistic. If we kind of take out the shadows, maybe do not care about the shadows at the moment, because you'll have to add a lot of animation with for those also, because let's use this one. All right. um, Now let's add a little bit of rotation to our project. Okay. What I want to do is that I want to rotate these guys. I want to add. I want don't add this thing again. Not anymore. I want to rotate. So if I rotate my entire null object, this would be like rotating like this. So if that's something I want, I can do that. But I want to change the axis of everything. I want to rotate this guy on his own axis, right? So maybe maybe had rotation, and for rotation we can have a loop animation which will rotate this by some transition value, which is from 0 and 0 and 0. Now, which value I should change is I should have an idea about it. That if I pick up a diamond and if I do this, that means to rotate it in its own axis, I have to change the y value, which means I have to make changes to y value here, 0 to 360, and just feed it here. So that value is changing now. And I should also do this to shadow so that they're on the same page. But I don't really like how the shadow is working, but that's all right. Don't have much options to play with. This is too fast. Maybe take 10 seconds to rotate, like keep rotating at your own axis. Now, um, let's also do this for the other thing. Like if I do this to my entire null object, like entire rotation to my null object, then you will notice that everything is rotating, but this guy is having a little bit of extra rotation, because it's also rotating its own axis. If I do this like, hey, I want to go into negative direction, so 0 to 360, that means okay, wait. This is 360 and multiply by -1 as we did earlier, and bring it on. So yeah, that means that the rotation is 0, maybe multiplied by -2. Hmm. Oh, it's null object. Okay, this should be okay. This should be directly multiplied. I want to change this for just for this guy, for these guys. So maybe do it -360 and multiply it by. You can also have a negate. Like negate is also good. Negate is just gonna negate everything. So if you use negate, and that's no. it's not going to give us the values that we want. So multiply is something that we want to multiply by 2. So this should give us a different rotation. Still now, yeah. So this is like going into the opposite direction. Um, one more rotation that we want is that maybe that's okay, but um, what if I want to rotate this into the x direction as well? Like if I take my this diamond and I have to pause it to figure out what I'm gonna do. So I pause it, I zoom in, and if I see that hey, if I do this, then this is going to rotate its own axis like this. But that's not I want. I want to have a differently rotated rotation for these two guys. For these two guys, okay. So I can have another null object inside, and this null object can stay here, and these two guys can go inside this. And I'm gonna say that hey, um, I'm gonna say that use another loop animation and use it to give me a 5-second rotation for yeah. So we have a different rotation for these two now on their own axis that as well. So we can manipulate these guys based on the concept of null object is that we can combine some of the objects and give them a different, like this is my main null and this is my sub null. Like we're accessing 2 elements into and 3 elements into, and then that's the entire idea behind it. We can increase the speed of these guys a little bit. um, have these guys rotate with them as well, like super fast at the top. So this is the main idea about the null objects and the plane tracker. Now let's do a very very quick task with the devices. So let's come back to our front camera and add a randomizer filter, like randomization. You must have seen a lot of randomizer filters, which are like on Instagram, like uh, what kind of person you would be in 2022 and what is 2022 is bringing you guys. So that's kind of that sort of thing is that is because of the plane tracker, and it's a very simple code that people use to do that. So what we want to do is we want to have a question added to um, so let's add some questions. Okay, so what I want to do is that I want to add a canvas, and let's add a canvas. This canvas should have a rectangle. Pay attention to this. This is very simple but pretty important concepts. um, this canvas should have rectangle. This is my question. Okay, my question is should have a material cat like mat question, and the mat question should be having a material, maybe not, don't put it yet, directly added 2D text, which should have my question. This should be my question because I'm going to write it directly, and that should be like, hey, what kind of person are you in 2022? And when I do that, I would also fill in width like this. Um, Adjust the font size so that it fits my screen to better like this. I can adjust the color to make it super white, and also add it to a little bit up from here. So where is am I? So am I here right now? I can pick it, jump it over like this. So this question says like, hey, what kind of person are you in 2022? And so when the filter starts, this should appear like this. Like whenever the filter is starting, I should have this question in front. So that is sorted. So if I restart, I'll have this question in front. And then I want to say that on a screen tap, if user does the screen tap, okay, the I'm not sure if that's working. All right, we have to remove this guy. Yeah, it's working now. So the screen tap is whenever I screen tap, I should make this guy invisible. That's my first step because I would then give answers to my user, right? So whenever I screen tap, I should change the visibility of this guy. Okay, this is my question. This is my question. Okay, and as soon as I screen tap, I should say that, hey, do not make it visible, but this is my pulse and this is my boolean. So how do I do that? So I have to convert this pulse to a boolean, which means that if I screen tap, then make a boolean like forever, like disable this guy forever. So at the moment there's a patch called switch that converts the pulse to a boolean. Okay, this is what we use. We use a switch, just like a doorbell. Okay, what we do then is that whenever I screen tap, give me a turn on pulse, which should it like turn it on. But this is going to do is that when I screen tap, it's going to turn it on. But I want the opposite of this. So I should add a not to this guy. That means that when my pulse is not on, that you're going to give me a, a true value. But as soon as I screen tap, you're going to give me a false value. So this is sorted. My step one is clear. What is my step two? Step two is that I want to show some sort of answers to the user. That means I should have another text which is answers. Okay, and this answers is they should have a like couple of answers that we can give it, and its position should be like same as probably the kind of person are you in 2022, which is at -2 to 3, and I'm gonna give it to like -200 probably. All right, so um, this is the text that I want to change. I brought it inside because I want to have a couple of options that I want to give you. I want to have like an option picker. This should be a type of text, and I'm going to say that you should be a I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be a procrastinator that I'm always am. Could be a quick learner, a creator, Spark-A creator. There are a couple of options that I put here. You can have like as many options as you want, like probably like 32 options maximum. You can change it. At the moment, by default, there are like 5 options we have. And if I connect it, you see that this is by default at 0. Okay, because option picker is by default at 0. If I have 1, there's a procrastinator. If I have 2, there's a quick learner. Then 3, creator. There's a 4, spark error creator with a 0. Okay, so there are like these couple of options. So I want to go from 0 to 4 to access all the options. That means that I should have a function that gives me those values when I screen tap. That means that when I screen tap, I should make my answers visible. First thing, initially they should not be visible. Right now, answers and questions both are visible. That's something I don't want. I want when my filter starts, I want my answers to be visible, not visible. Okay, but we'll change it later because we want to like first create a logic for so to kind of make it visible invisible at the start. We could do this. So initially when I screen tap, this should be visible, not visible. So we can connect this guy here. So I say that initially it's not be visible, but I screen tap, that goes away, question goes away, answers come soon, right? All right, so this is clear, I hope. But at the moment I'm gonna make it visible. Okay. uh, what I should do to kind of make this option picker give me a loop animation for like 0 to 4, 0 to 4. So I should be getting these values. So I should have a loop animation which should give me random values. Okay, so this is like a random patch in Spark-A. This random patch can generate from 0 to 4. Okay, because that's where we're going like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like, so we are going up to 4. So we can go from 0 to 5 or just 4, and we can round it up because this random is going to give you 1.2 as well, 1.4 as well. So we're gonna like round it up. When we round it up, that means you're choosing to kind of so let's understand this. When you round things up, that means there are two things, round and floor. So round is just getting the closest value to the decimal. So if I have a value which is like a 1.2, 1.2, that means if I pass it to my round, it's going to give me 1. If I pass it to my floor, it's going to give me 1 as well. If I go with 1.6, that's going to give me 2 because this is closer to 2. This is still going to give me 1. So my floor doesn't care about my decimal, but my round cares about my decimal, and it gives you closest value to the next integer. So I'm going to round this because we're going from 0 to 4. And this round is going to give you for 0 to 4 values, and I'm going to connect it here. But that randomization should be on, like let's say now it is giving me, you see that it's changing, right? It's changing because this loop animation is working, and then but this is changing in every 1 second. So I'm going to change it in like 0.4 second to give me like a quick values, maybe zero point 0.2 to give me like more quicker values, maybe zero point 0.1, so like so fast. So you see that like it's super fast, it's working like a magic, you know. So that is sorted, that thing is sorted. uh, but this is always happening. I don't want that, you know. I don't want that always happening. So when should this happen? This should happen when this is visible. And when is this visible? This is visible when this is visible. And this should happen like this then. All right, make sense? Make sense. Let make answers visible like this, make questions not visible like this, which means if I screen tap now, that would be doing, but it is continuously gonna go unless, you know, super, unless like infinity. So I need to kind of give it a function which changes this, like this randomization should be stopped after a while. So I will say that when you screen tap, give me an animation. Okay, give me an animation, play this animation. And when this animation is over, play this animation for like 6 seconds. And when this animation is over, then give me a pulse, give me a switch value, which um, which turns off, which turn on, which gives me a boolean. Okay, and I'm gonna add those boolean here, like this should be an and patch, okay, to this, and then I'm gonna add it here. All right, so if you see that initially if I screen tap, this is going to give me a boolean and this is going to make it true. um, if I screen tap, no, if this is completed, then so I have to add a not patch here. Don't worry, we'll go through it. We'll explain you this. Don't worry. So if I do that, that means this is going to be changed in couple of seconds, 6 seconds when it's over, and then we are a creator in 2022. Okay, so when this is over, I hope you understand like what's happening here. What we did is when you screen tapped, this was we earlier were doing. We were making the question invisible. We were making the answers visible. Now we're also playing an animation which says that okay, for 6 seconds that's fine, whatever you're doing, you're good, that your randomization is working fine, perfect. You're kind of having different values to your text, but after 6 seconds is over, stop that randomization. Okay, we're going to tell you your future, what you're going to be doing in 2022. So this is what we did initially. Our pulse was on because this animation is not completed. That means it is similar to what is happening here. Okay, and then we said like, hey, no, change it. When this pulse says turn on, then we are gonna off it. So end is like both values are true, then it is true. But this is going to be turned off after 6 seconds. So you can change this timer. I put it 6 seconds because that's how the game runs for a couple of times. Put it to 8 seconds if you like. So yeah, good person in 2022. All right, I'm already a good person. All right. Yeah, this is pretty much it. I hope you learned a lot of things today in a very short time that we've given to talk to each other. I hope you have covered lots of things and you're able to traverse through the tool, you're able to work with these examples. I will also try to somehow share this file with you guys if that's okay. So I'll check with the team on how to do it. And this is pretty much it. And let's go back to the presentation where you can have question answers and let me know any questions if you have. And yeah,
So we have a question.
yep. I don't know why am I zoomed up, but it's okay.
Is it possible to make Photoshop edit like effects?
Photoshop edit like effects. Yeah, sure. That means you what you want to do is that you want to change the color values, right? So if you attended yesterday's session, we changed a lot of color values yesterday, and also um, so basically RGB is there are three things that any texture would represent, and we can change those colors. We can add some sort of brightness, exposure. Those things can be done in Spark-A.
Right. Any other question, folks? I mean, I know it's a Sunday, it's an evening, and Naveen has, it's been kind of Naveen to take out time on a Sunday evening, which is very, very difficult for all of us working professionals. Thank you very much. So I know it's getting late, so we would love to hear from you, your questions. Quickly take them up and, you know, get going with it.
Yeah. And anyways, I'm just gonna like leave my, like slide into my Instagram or come and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. I learned a lot from the community, so I'm always happy to give back. So yeah, feel free to answer, and question me anytime when you have later. I know that at the time when you learn things, you might not understand fully, or you might not have questions ready with you. But when you try and you come up with questions, you can always come to me and ask. That'll be available.
Right. So I don't see any more questions coming in so far, Naveen. So how do they reach out to you on Instagram?
Yeah, you can post my Instagram. I can tell you my Instagram. Wait.
Yeah.
So this is my Instagram. You're welcome, Sandesh.
So let's call it a day then.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
very
much.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well,
Bye.
bye.